Hi, I'm musician first class April Enos, and I am one of the U.S. Navy Band's public affairs officers, which means that I work full-time on staff. A sixth grader from Holland Meadows Elementary School in Alexandria, Virginia asks, does the Navy Band get to travel around the world? This is a great question, and you may be asking yourself, why am I answering it if I sit behind a desk? I've almost been in the Navy 10 years now. In the first 9 of those years, I was stationed in 3 other Navy fleet bands. Now the Navy has 11 bands total, and the one you're probably the most familiar with is here in Washington, D.C. When I first joined, I was a trombonist, and my first duty station was Naples, Italy. And boy, did we travel. In the 2 years I was there, I got to visit 13 different countries. I got to go to a place called Azerbaijan, which I had never heard of before. If you want to look on a map, it's near Iran. I had to when I found out I was going there. And I got to play in front of an audience of refugees at a camp on the outskirts of the city. Some of the other highlights of my time in Europe were when the band got to travel to these international military band marching performances. These events are called tattoos, and there's a very long, rich history and tradition of military bands all over the world gathering for these performances. 2 that I remember most, one was in Belgium, one was in Scotland, and that tattoo was actually 30 days. So I got to spend 30 days in Scotland, working very hard. We did 7 shows a week, but I got to perform for 250,000 people live. Now, one thing I never got to do in Naples, but several of my friends did, was go on a deployment around the coast of West Africa. Their mission is essentially humanitarian and community outreach. They just want to establish good relationships in these countries. And so there's no better way to do that than to bring a band. Because even if we can't communicate, if we don't speak the same language, if we have basically nothing in common, music will always be a commonality. There are other stateside bands that do deploy fairly regularly. Norfolk, Virginia, where the Fleet Forces Band is located, almost annually goes on a ship you've probably heard of because it's been in the news recently, the USNS Comfort, a hospital ship. Traditionally, over the last few years, the Comfort has taken a tour of South America with Navy doctors and corpsmen and medics, but they take musicians from Fleet Forces Band and they get on the ship for the entire deployment, usually between 3 and 6 months, and they make port calls all around South America. The Pacific Fleet Band, which is located in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, also has a tradition of sending musicians on a deployment on the USNS Mercy, which might also sound familiar because it's been in the news recently helping out in Los Angeles. We also have a band stationed in Yokosuka, Japan, known as the 7th Fleet Band, and they frequently deploy on the USS Blue Ridge. Many of my friends who've been able to be stationed there have visited dozens of countries that, again, they might never have seen before. Now, here at the United States Navy Band in Washington, D.C., we don't travel quite as frequently internationally, but we do have a history of doing so. This year, 2020, we were scheduled to perform at a military tattoo in Norway, and then again, we were scheduled to perform as a concert band in Singapore this summer. Both had to be canceled because of recent events, but I'm confident that once things return to normal and it's safe to do so, those events will be rescheduled and the Navy Band will try to be a part of them. Travel is my absolute favorite part of this job. So I'm not performing anymore, I'm not playing trombone anymore, but I do get to follow the Navy Band and take photos, take videos, and share their story globally through online platforms like this. I feel very lucky that I got to travel in Europe as my first experience in the Navy. It's something I'll never forget.